Hi, it's Amelie. Today for just practicing, we're going to work on the sonata in F major by TELEMANN. So it starts with the vivace. Is there a number on that sonata?
It's a recorder sonata. It's TWV 41F2. That's what it says.
Okay, TWV 41F2. Okay, and yeah, it's a recorder sonata, but it's being played a lot by flutists. I played it when I was young. I played the first movement only though, and today we're going to do all three of them. So here's one version I have. Okay, so when you have in that type of music, since it's Baroque music, end of Baroque, yeah, you will have some slurs and stuff like that, slurs and all the articulations. They're usually chosen by the editor, so you can change them if you're more comfortable with different ones. Okay, I'm gonna play it and we're gonna see. If you have any questions, comments, just leave them in the chat, the live chat, since this is a live stream, and we will try to answer them as soon as possible. Just 1 second. There's something. Okay. Okay, that's the first part. That's some slurs that I chose. I'll see in the other edition I have. It's different. Oh, there's a breathing there, so. And here there's a little turn around at the end of the trill. So since this is Baroque music, you should start your trills on the top note. So let's say you have a trill on D, you start on E. So it's D, E, but you start E, D, E, da da da. Okay, then also you'll need double tonguing in that piece, because you have those 16th notes and you don't want to be doing ta 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 ta, because eventually you're gonna be blocked in speed with simple tonguing. So make sure you learn how to double tongue if you don't know yet, and it can be a good place to practice it. So we have a video about double and triple tonguing. In short, it's ta ka ta ka. So on one note you do ta, on the next you do ka. So that's it for that. Then all those little things in 16th. Start slowly, and then you can also practice them if you want to get faster and faster. Just take just that little section of one beat and do it in a loop like this. And then you go with the next one, which is on the second bar. You have those 16th notes. by repeating like that, that's how you're creating ease and fluidity, and you're creating when you don't have to think about it, unconscious, I'm looking for a word, can you help me? No? Just automatic, automaticisms, so you don't have to think about each note, just kind of, so you can do it so easily. It's a bit like saying your phone number. If you said it many times, you don't have to think about it. Saying your names, your name, your address, your names, if you have many, many identities. Your name, your address, all those things, they're pretty easy because you've said it a lot, So it's the same. Here on the third bar, for example, you could go from C to F and then go back up. Now I'm doing it a bit too fast, but like if you're a beginner, obviously you're going to start maybe even slower. It's all good. And you can put a little timer and be like, I'm going to do that for a minute. A minute seems like not much time, but you can improve a lot on a small thing like that in 1 minute. It's crazy. So that's a good way to practice. And then there's all the traditional things of practicing it slowly and then increasing the speed. You can even start by
subconscious.
Yeah, subconscious, kind of, yeah. And you can start by 8 notes, So you can play by 8 notes in the beginning. And if you make a mistake, try to go back to the beginning of the line, but slower. It means it's a bit too fast, and then you go back up. So that would be a good way to practice it. Then once you're comfortable per 8 notes, you move it up to per 16 per quarter note, and then you can practice it like that. But really, I would say that thing of practicing a little part and doing it a lot to increase the speed is a good way to create automaticisms. Then you see when you have those things at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, bar 8, you have so the line is that's the line there. And the rest is tia taka ta taka. So it needs to be taka on those two ones, and it's a good place to practice it. And if you're just starting to do double tonguing, obviously it's going to be slower in the beginning than your simple tonguing because you're learning it, but it's a good investment. So just try start at the speed that you control, not faster than that. And then with time, you'll gain more control over your double tonguing, and you should use it everywhere in your 16th notes in that movement. And then, okay, so for breathing, when you have a quarter note as the first note of the bar, you can just breathe after that note. It's a good spot. Then you have a lot of rests. At bar 7, just after the A, before you do the G, F, it's a good spot to breathe, because you'll need air to do those 2 bars after. Then you have a little rest at the end of bar 9, so you'll be fine. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll take a pen or a pencil. 2, 3, 4. So I don't have to count every time. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. So at 12, after the C, you could breathe there. Just when you have that 8th note, breathe there. Or you can breathe at 13 after the high C. It all depends on how much air you need, So that's it for that. And it's a piece with a lot of character, You can give it some gusto. Sometimes when there's repeats, you can change the color. Like if you go changed a bit when I repeated the ta ya ta 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 ya ka ta ta. But then I went back to more light, more more shiny. And then at 11 it's the same. Because you have this that repeats from the bar before, so maybe give it something different the second time around. If you have dynamics in there that you don't like, in the edition that you bought or found, you can change them, because that too is from the editor. So second part now. If you do the repeats, which you don't have to do, but if you do them, also you can make little changes the second time around. My God, there's something weird. Okay. Yeah?
Yeah, somebody wanted to know, do you have a tip on to be on time while playing? She says that she goes too fast and they struggle with that.
You go too fast in general, or in some type of passages?
Probably some types of passages, I think.
Okay.
Instead of maybe it's like a fluctuation of...
Yeah. Okay, there's many things you can do if you're changing the tempo. First thing that I notice a lot in students is that when it's easy, people tend to go faster, and then when it gets hard, they go slower. So that's like a natural tendency for everyone. And then that also comes from not referring to a pulse. Okay, so sometimes I hear people that, you'll hear that the 8th notes are a bit faster than the quarter notes, and the 16th notes are a bit faster than the 8th notes, but it's not quite precise because they don't really refer to a pulse, a beat. So that's the main thing. Okay, now if you have issues with the beat, that's a physical thing. So you have to feel it in your body. I would say walk on rhythms, like put music and walk on the beat, just normal walking, or clap the pulse, so you can feel it and internalize it. Then on your music, if you don't know visually where your beats are, you can write them down. So I tend to take my pen. I don't do it as much anymore on the sheet because I see it. I visualize those lines without writing them now, but when I was younger, and if I do contemporary music and the rhythm is very difficult, I do it too. I put lines under each beat. This way I know where the beat is. You can put lines or numbers. If it's a 4/4, you have 4 beats. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This way you know where your beats are. And that's a good way, because if you don't even know where the beats are, how can you refer to a pulse? So I think that's something that could help. I don't know exactly why you're changing the tempo, but yeah, because it could be many reasons. Good. Okay. So yeah, if you do it the second time, I guess you could add little things like... I don't know, maybe you change little things. I don't know. I'm just trying to have little ideas. If you do it a second time, it can be interesting to do it like that. But it all depends on your level and your, all those things. Listen to different versions. You might find ideas. Second part. So here, you go from major to here. You have a chord that is C sharp, E, G, and B flat. That's a 7th diminished chord, like this. That's a very dramatic chord. So it's a complete change in the, and you're going in D minor. So there's a complete change in the mood there. So maybe piano, maybe more dark, you see that you have the same chord 2 bars later. Because you do the same thing that you did in D minor, you do it again, but in G minor. He just transposes that same motive from bar 15 to bar 17. 18, 19, 20. Okay. And then for breathing there, it's pretty easy because you have a lot of long notes and rests, so you can find a lot of places. I advise you to write it down because it helps, you know. You choose them and you try to stick to them. You can always modify them because it's a work in progress, but still you're working towards something for the breathing. Yeah, so you hear it's the same thing twice, so you can make a little modification on the second one. I like that. For that type of motive, I think 1 detached, 3 slurred is good. So maybe the first one I would do soft, and then the second one a bit louder. And here you could have a cadence, you know, in G minor, but the composer wants to go back to F major, so we go back. Whoops, sorry. So here you have that thing that goes. You had the same thing at the beginning in those. But here it's in another key, but it's the same thing. But you have a crescendo there to do the. So what I would do is I would start piano and go louder, and then when I go back to the E, I start piano again and I go louder. I think that's nice like that. And we're back in F major. Well, we've been back for a little while, but yeah. So here, same thing. That's probably the little part, you know, from bar 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 until the end is probably the part that you'll have to practice the most because it's full of 16th notes. And you know, you don't have to practice the whole thing every day, you know. Sometimes it's way more efficient to be like, okay, I'm going to practice those 3 last lines 10 times instead of the whole piece 3 times. You know, in the end, it's pretty much the same amount of time you'll have spent, but you'll be creating way more habits this way, you know, because it's by repeating the same thing over and over that it's going to get easier. And you can start the same thing I said before, slowly. Using rhythms is very good too, like and then the other way around, short, fast. Or you can do 1 beat, you stop, 1 beat, you stop, as fast as you can for that beat. And when I do that, sometimes I don't do the tonguing at the same time. I just do everything slurred because I'm just learning the fingers. You know, learning to move my fingers that fast. So I'm not focusing on the tongue yet. You know? Then you can group it by 2 beats. different ways to practice it. Doing just a little chunk fast, it allows you to go faster than you would be able to if you were playing a longer period of time. But yeah, it's just easier because you have less. It's like, okay, I do this, then I stop. Then, okay, I do this, then I stop. You have to kind of plan that thing coming up. And then you go back slower and you practice it again. And so on and so on. Someone asked also about playing more in rhythm, keeping the beat and the pulse. Listen to some versions that are good and follow along on your music, and try to read and feel the beat at the same time and see where they are, okay? Then what you can do is also visualize where you would have played. This way, if you make a mistake, you'll be like, you kind of hear it in your head at the same time as you're listening, and this way it's gonna tell you where you would have made a mistake, and then you can correct that. Because it's all about being aware. If you're not aware that you're playing too fast or too slow, there's no way you can modify it. Even if your teacher tells you, here you're too fast, but you're not really understanding it, feeling it, you don't have a point of reference, it's going to be very difficult to get it better. So it's about trying to really find it for yourself in a way, because the learning process happens in the student. The teacher's teaching, but the learning is all done by the student. So yeah, try to do that. That could be a very good thing. You can even go like this, put a recording and go while you're listening, and you'll see where you tend to slow down, go too fast, where you don't really understand the rhythm perfectly, Was there any question there? All good? So now I'll try the second movement. When I learned that piece, very, very long time ago, I didn't learn the second and third movement. I never listened to them either, so I'm going to just read them. They say 50 here, so I'll try that 50. Vibrated a bit too much because it's still Baroque music, and Baroque flutes and traverso, they usually don't vibrate that much. I'll play it again. Okay. Sometimes you have notes that are part of the chord, and sometimes you have notes that are not part of the chord, and they're appoggiaturas in the sense that they're meant to be creating tension in the melody. I don't have the piano part, but let's say you have a D minor chord at the beginning, and then you have that B flat there. You see that B flat doesn't go with the chord, but it's all right because it's going to resolve on that A. And here it's one of these notes. So that B flat, you have to give it. You have to figure out in the melody which notes are kind of there to create the tension, and put your finger on the tension, push a bit more, and which notes are there to create the release after the tension. That's a lot of that. Then, at the end of that first part, between the two bars, I would do a little cut there before you repeat the A, like that. That's in style. When you have I don't remember in English. In French, it's mordant. You have that little sign that goes like this. You can start on the note and you just go ta-da-dum, like that. Ta-da-dum. So I think that's good. I'll do the second part now. So here, when you start your trill, you have to start on the top note, but then also I like to do them a little bit in accelerando, so you start slowly and then you... And it's also about where you end it. Kind of... I end it on the third beat. This way I can... Because sometimes that's the issue with trills. We tend to not know when to stop it. And that's why it sounds weird. It's not the trill itself, but where we stop it. So... You have to stop on the F sharp on the beat. This way you can do ta da da dum on the fourth beat, the third beat. So sorry. Okay, here you might be scared of that interval. It's over an octave. Don't be, okay? Because if you're scared, so easy. Don't be scared. You might create tension in your body, and not necessarily the type of tension that you want, because there's a difference between pushing more air. There might be a little bit of tension to go, but it's kind of the good tension. But if you're creating movements in your face that are not helping or things like that, so I see people going like that. They get all stressed out. Just let it come out with the air. The air is a bit faster. If you hear my airstream, it goes, let's say I'm on that D and then I'm going on the high E, it goes, okay? And there's not a need for movements on them around the mouth that much, It's you can think of and having the airstream come a bit higher, and do the same thing as if you were singing that type of interval. Yeah.
Suran wants to know, do you guys feel that playing these pieces on modern instruments is detrimental to performance? These pieces were written for Baroque flute with 4 fingerings. Do you feel it changes the character of the piece itself?
Okay, so if playing those pieces on modern instrument is detrimental to the music?
If it changes the character?
Yeah.
Or detrimental to the performance?
Oh, yeah, it changes the character, obviously, because it's a completely different sound. I don't think it's detrimental to the performance. It's just another way to play it. You can enjoy it on a modern flute, and you can enjoy it on a Baroque flute. And we don't even know which flute the composer would have preferred, because he never heard the modern flute. So we can't really take, it was on a recorder. Yeah. My vision of music is that, yes, music that's well written can speak for itself. You don't need to do too much. So it's kind of respecting the composer by just letting the music say what it has to say with your own flair. Obviously, you can't remove yourself from the equation because you're there, But I don't think of I don't think that being creative or doing things differently is a disrespect to the composer either. I don't see it like that. I think the way we're taught to deify composers from the past kind of makes us nervous about music very often and less able to express ourselves. That's how I felt when for a long time, I felt, oh, am I playing it in style enough? Is it, and all that questioning was taking the place of just letting the music happen. And so I try to just think of it as I'm a musician playing another musician's music with respect, but also a bit more like a colleague than a god and just me, a normal person,
Because we work with real composers that are alive right now, like alive composers is what I meant.
Yeah, we work with live composers, and
they're similar, I think.
It's totally similar. And I've worked with composers. I remember playing for a German composer for a festival, and I played his piece to him to see if he liked, if he wanted me to change anything. And he said, wow, your vision of the piece, the way you play it, it's totally different from what I heard in my head when I wrote it. And I said, oh, so how do you hear it? Just tell me and I'll play it the way you like it. He's like, no way. I like that way, There was a total respect for my vision of his work, That's where the creativity comes from. If we were not doing that, then why would we even learn instruments? You would just need, now with recordings, you would just need one person to record everything. Let's say we decide this person's the best flutist, and then that person can record everything, and we can just listen. We don't need to learn anymore. There's no need to be creative, Like, yeah. And we could maybe even use computers to do it, Well, it's a lot of philosophy there. But you can just play and enjoy yourself. That's really what I mean by all that. Yeah. Okay, so to come back to that big interval, yeah, when you go higher, there's a tiny, tiny movement here on the lower lip, like to change the angle of the air, but it's very tiny. It's minute. I don't even notice that I'm doing it when I'm playing. I don't focus on that. I really focus on the air. That happens by itself, and I barely move at all. Just in general, your register that sounds the best is the lip position you should have for all registers, Usually when I see students that say I have a difficulty with my high register, let's say, and I say, can you play in the low register? And I look at how they're positioned, and I say, just keep that in the high register. Usually it takes care of it, So not too much movement there.
Igor just gave us $5 from Brazil. He says hello and thanks loves the channel. He's a violinist.
Thanks, Igor from Brazil, for the $5 on the live on the super chat. Thank you so much. Okay, so to do a little cut between the two last notes. Yeah, I think that's just don't make all the notes equal. Like, don't play like they don't have all the same what's that? Okay. They don't have all the same importance in the melody. Like da 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 da. You see that F is important in that C sharp. The D and E, they're just passing through to go towards that A after, Something like that. Third movement. Let's see. you start in F and then you go around switching and you end up in F again. Okay, so that's a 6/8. And if you're not familiar with those types of measures, it's 2 beats of dotted 8 notes. No, dotted quarter notes. I'm sorry, because I have to translate. Dotted quarter notes. So you can start by doing it per 8 note. If it's easier for you, you'll have 6 beats of 8 notes. So you could go like this. And so on and so on. And then when you're comfortable with that, you can do per dotted quarter note. So you subdivide in 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll do it a bit slower so you can hear it better. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Da 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 dum, ba ba da da dum, ba da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 1. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. So everything's subdivided in 3. Usually we're more used to subdividing things in 2, but like once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. I'll try it at the speed that's proposed in my edition, 120. So for that first part, I think that's a bit fast, but I think that sounds a bit rushed. Maybe if you get very fast, you can feel it as 1 beat per bar, but you subdivide in your head in 2 beats. Yeah, okay. So when you get to bar 5, you have that little chromaticism there. That's very interesting. That's tension, So give it something there. It's piano, but it's intense, Then he does it again, just one step, one whole note later, above. I think we should do something special with that high G. It's the highest note of the whole piece. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, it's really that 1 beat. 1, 2, 1, The first beat is the most important beat. It's the note that you want to accentuate more. And so to practice that, you can practice it, sometimes just slur everything and other times just tongue everything. Go slowly. Take your time to really understand the rhythm, know what you're doing, because it's not just about practicing, because you can practice a lot and practice mistakes. Just make sure you understand what's going on. Sometimes it's more efficient to practice without your flute, just listening, trying to figure out where the beats are, writing down where the beats are, than taking your flute and learning mistakes, So sometimes there's a preparation work before you start playing that's worth hours and hours of practicing. And maybe you'll put 30 minutes into it, and it will be worth 3 hours of practicing. Plus, if you practice a mistake, you have to unlearn the mistake and relearn the new thing. You're adding hours and hours and hours on your practice. It's not just about time, it's about quality,
John wants to know, how long did it take for you to get good at rhythm? I write notations on the music. I haven't found a set way that really works, but I'm a beginner. I've been learning for 1 year.
Okay. The way I was taught rhythm was pretty good, and that made it easy for me. Like I learned it quickly because it was taught like by always referring referring to the pulse, and so yeah, this way it was so much easier because it was very visual and also something physical. And I think we're going to make a course, an online course or a method that goes with a video. We'll see how we package it for rhythm. And it's going to be good for any musician, not just flutists, because we realize it's a big issue for a lot of people. And if you want to play with others, rhythm is kind of the basics, If you don't follow the beat, other musicians have a hard time being with you and all that stuff. So, yeah. It's about, I think, if the rhythm that you're talking about is linked to a music notation, it's really about visualizing where those beats are and being very disciplined about always referring to that beat, Subdividing is also a very good thing. So start by putting your metronome. Let's say you're doing 6/8, each eight note, And then once you're comfortable with that, you group it by 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you start feeling the subdivision in 3, and then you can sing your thing. Bum ba da bum 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 ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum 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 da 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 da. That's time more like way better invested than taking your flute out and learning the rhythm incorrectly and then it's in your head that way. If you're not sure, just and use that as your subdivision and that as your real beat and just sing the rhythms. You don't even need to sing the notes, just the rhythms. If that's too fast, go slower. Go to what you control. It's always faster to learn that way. Okay, so now I'm at the second part. No, I don't need that. So here, I like that. It's very lyrical, even if it's fast. Yeah, and when you have that trill, end it on the note, so on the A, on the beat. You stop on the A there. So it's really about the ending of the trill. And then you stop it on the G directly on the beat, on the second beat. I'm a bit fast. I'm a bit slow, I think. Something like that. I think I was a bit slow, and also I was kind of slowing down all the time. I don't know why. So to correct that, what I would do is practice it with a metronome, push myself, and then just be aware of that tendency that I have and practice it without the metronome. Maybe record myself to make sure, because when we listen to ourselves without playing at the same time, we have more attention on those types of details. And, it's about noticing... when you practice, if you have a goal in mind, it's way more efficient than just practicing. Let's say your goal is to practice 30 minutes a day. That's a goal. That's a good goal. But then in that 30 minutes of practicing, you need another goal. because it's not just about making a time go by. It's about, what do I want to work on? What do I need to work on? Is like, try to figure out, or if you have a good teacher, that's also what they should tell you. This week, focus on that. In this piece, be careful with this. And this way, you're working towards something, you know. Having a goal in mind will make your practice more efficient. I think that's pretty much it, you know. Then for all those rhythms, you know, you can like use your metronome, go faster, work on those trills if they're difficult for you. So for, and like, I don't know if you know your fingering trills, your trill fingerings. Yeah. We have a poster for that with all the fingerings and the trill fingerings that are the most common. It's on our merch store. It's in the link below. But like usually they're pretty obvious in this piece, you know. So no one asked about that, but like B flat A, you just do your B flat with the thumb and you go like that. That's pretty much it. Yeah, and like let's say at the end. That F2 would be interesting to give something to, because it's the highest note of that ending, you know. You might have to practice that interval. If it's too difficult to slur it, just tongue it, because that slur is from the editor. So you could go. Maybe it's easier, and it's still very nice. Yeah, and I gave it a little ta on that F. That's a weird thing. I wonder if it's really the composer or the arrangement.
It's the arrangement, because there's a lot of problems with them. There's a lot of misprints.
Because sometimes people who take a piece, let's say for a recorder, and they're like, they change the octave of something, and so I'm not sure about that. If I was to play that in concert, I would try to find the recorder part and see if that transcription is my taste, you know. So if you're practicing that, maybe it's probably easy to find the recorder part online and maybe compare it. Because, like, there's things that are weird. Even that high G that I played before, I was like, is that supposed to be like that? So maybe just making a little... just checking, you know. I would do that if I was working on it, or if I was working with a student who's learning it. I would check. Because it's my first time learning it, and we just printed it just now before the live stream. So, yeah. So, any question, comments?
A lot of people say it sounds good to you, but not yet. But maybe you want to talk about all the stuff?
Yeah, so if you're interested in taking lessons with me, we have online lessons, and you just have to email us at info@theflutechannel.com, and we'll send you all you need to know for everything that you need to know if you're interested in private lessons with me. And also, if you are interested in some merch, like I talked about the poster, but we also have shirts and mugs and all types of nice things. We now have like leggings and a shirt that have a whole concerto printed on it. I think it's pretty cool. I think I'm gonna get one. And then, just go in the link below. If you want to find a new flute, we have something with the Flute Center of New York, and we have a code. It's TFC, like the Flute Channel, TFC. Use our code. It gives you some perks and it helps us out. And so you just call them, or you go on their website at flutesforsale.com. So flutes number 4sale.com, and you can try up to 4 flutes, 3 flutes, 3 flutes, 4 flutes, and you can you have an extended warranty and all that stuff with our code. So a lot of people have been using it. So thank you so much. And is there something that I'm forgetting? No? Yeah. we'll have our book out soon, so keep an eye out. It's a lot of work, but it's coming. It's coming.
We have a new video out on Thursday, and
Yeah. So, no more questions?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's it.
So I hope you have a nice week of practicing. And if you like the video, please like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And leave your comments in the section below. And see you next time. Thanks for watching.